Hey guys, hopefully you guys have been enjoying these videos and keeping up with my Spiral Volley Deadeye because I have another one to talk about some more updates that I did to the character. I've made some changes to the skills, the tree, and the equipment since our last video, so I wanted to go over that with y'all today. Now, looking at the character itself, nothing has really changed other than the fact that I got to level 94. All the survivability stuff is pretty much the same, but when we hop into the gems, I did make some changes here. So, before we go into it, I did beat the Pinnacle bosses, Tier 4 Pinnacle bosses, beat Zesht, and I beat, what is it called? King of the Mist. I have not done Tier 4 Arbiter yet. I've only done Tier 0, but to be honest, I don't really think Arbiter is that worth it to run, to be honest, because it's just, the pieces are so expensive, and the return, the payoff isn't that great. So I kind of don't really have that much motivation to run it, other than for the fact of just like, oh, I cleared it. Because the other Pinnacle bosses have the same amount of HP, so if you're able to beat them, you just need a little bit of skill to beat Arbiter, basically. Unfortunately, I'm not really like one-shotting anymore for these Pinnacle bosses. I haven't been one-shotting since like Tier 2, basically. But, you know, the build still works, and I have made some adjustments to the build because of the fact that I'm like, okay, you know what? I've accepted the fact that I'm not going to be one-shotting this stuff anymore, so we're going to make some changes. But before we go into that, we're going to go dive into the gems themselves. Spiral Volley is still a 4-link. I don't really see much of a need for a 5-link, to be honest, because honestly, it just kills stuff very well without it. So you can have it at a 5-link if you want. Again, maybe put in Ricochet or something like that. But for me, I'm fine with 4-link. And the thing that I changed here was that I took off Armor Explosion and put on Bursting Plague. Because one day a viewer came up to me and was like, hey, have you tried using Bursting Plague instead of Armor Explosion? I'm like, you know, I've thought about it, but no, I haven't. So I slapped it on. I'm like, you know what? This is actually a lot smoother. Given that we're a poison build, Bursting Plague does a lot of damage, and having it spread and, you know, basically be like a little bit of a contagion type of situation, it does help out a lot with clear on mobs that you wouldn't even think that it would reach. So Bursting Plague is something I would definitely recommend y'all giving a shot and trying out, as long as you don't really miss the armor pops, which were kind of nice. To be honest, that's kind of the only reason why I had those in the first place. So this is a good change. The next change I did was with Snipe. I now have Overextend instead of Blindside. Now, Blindside gave us a 15% more critical damage bonus whenever enemies were blinded, and Overextend gives you 30%, but in exchange, you get dazed when you critically strike an enemy, which, to be honest, it doesn't really do too much. It makes it so that you have 50% more stun buildup, which I have not noticed at all, because to be honest, when I'm fighting bosses and Pinnacle bosses, well, one, map bosses just die instantly. And then with Pinnacle bosses, I'm not really trying to get hit anyways because I'm paper thin. So if I get hit, I'm probably dying. So this has been a good change for me and increase the overall ceiling of the build. When it comes to another skill, and I've made a video about this separately, which if you guys want to watch, I'm going to link in the description below. But Eye of Winter has come into play now on my build because I use this to apply Wither. I have Unleash, Deceleration, and Scattershot on it, though on Pinnacle bosses I do take off Deceleration because Deceleration makes it so that the projectile kind of doesn't really go very far, and when I'm fighting Pinnacle bosses, I kind of want to keep my distance a little bit and have it be a little more flexible. Deceleration just makes it so it's like a little bit more consistent with applying Wither, but you don't really need it, to be honest. So I take that off for Pinnacle bosses, but this is there for Wither, which adds a lot of damage to your poisons. Before, I didn't really know of a good way to apply Wither because they nerfed the Wither stacking before, Withering Touch, but I figured out that I could actually use this wand right here, the Wicked Quill, to make it so that all of my hits have a chance to apply Wither. So now my Wither is connected to my second weapon set, which has the Wicked Quill on it. So whenever I use this ability, it starts stacking Wither on the bosses, and then they start taking more damage from poisons. Usually how it goes is I will drop the rain of arrows, I'll apply the sniper's mark, I'll do a barrage, then I will hit the enemy with a snipe, and then I will throw the Wither out as the last thing. So you don't really need to throw it on before because one Wither doesn't have a very long duration. It's only 4 seconds. But two, you're only really dropping the Wither stacks on the boss to hit the poisons, basically. Make the poisons do more damage. So the poison doesn't apply until after the initial hit. So all you need to do is hit it first, then apply Wither. You will see a huge increase in the amount of poison damage you do. Trust me. It's very strong. So I ended up adding this to the build as well. And then when it comes to Rain of Arrows, I actually went and added Volt because honestly, for me, I felt like the shock chance of this was getting a little bit low in my opinion. So I wanted to add some extra sources of damage onto the enemy, so or lightning damage, so that this would shock more consistently. And so far, Volt has been a very nice addition into the arsenal. It's just a more extra lightning damage, so we're shocking more often. Because lightning damage, more lightning damage equals higher status ailment threshold, more likely to shock. So that's kind of what we did with the skills. And in order to do this, actually, I did make some changes to the equipment because one thing you'll notice is that I have an extra skill slot because normally you're not able to run this many spells, so or gems. So I actually added in an unset ring into my build to make it so that it is doing more damage basically, because I wanted that extra skill. I wanted to keep Rain of Arrows but also have Eye of Winter. So that's why we put the unset ring to give us an extra skill slot. To be honest, I might even want to add another one if I can afford to get it, because I would also like to add Despair into the lineup as well. I know it's a lot of buns, a lot of spells, but this build, unfortunately, because of the nature of Snipe and not being able to one-shot anymore at Pinnacles, you want to be able to eke out as much damage as you can every single time you snipe. So as a result, I'm thinking about maybe even adding Despair as a curse to, again, further increase the amount of damage that my poisons are doing to the enemies. So that's kind of a thing that I'm considering, but we have added one unset ring already to add the extra skill slot for Eye of Winter. And then I also went and purchased a Rislatha's Coil. This is going to be one of your biggest damage upgrades out of any piece of gear that you can buy, at least where I am right now, where I was. This is going to increase this damage ceiling by a ton, and this is very important because when you're using Snipe, for example, right, when you're using first one or you're fully locked and loaded 7 stacks of Frenzy Charges, you're shooting a lot of arrows, and you only have 4 poison stacks. So 4 of those, however many arrows you're shooting out, basically, are going to probably be pretty high damage, and those are going to be the ones that are going to be stacking that poison magnitude. So Rislatha is a very, very good addition for that reason, and will increase your DPS by quite a bit. If I looked on POB, I think it increased my DPS by like 200 to 300k damage. So it's kind of insane. I think I did also corrupt this to get an extra socket, so I can just like balance out my like what are they called? Resistance a little bit better. But that's kind of about it in terms of the upgrades that I did. Eventually, I do want to get a +1 Frenzy Charge glove if I can, but that's kind of for a future thing. It's, you know, it'll add damage, but it's not like crazy amounts of damage. So that's something that I might do down the line. But that's what I did for the equipment. And then for the tree, I made some changes, specifically here getting Falcon Technique. I dropped a little bit of evasion for now until I level up again and get a little bit more. And just to get Falcon Technique, because I noticed that Snipe was just charging very slowly. And before, I really put no effort into upkeeping my attack speed. So going into those fights where I wasn't one-shotting bosses was really tough, because I would have to sit there and charge the Snipe for a really long time, and the boss would probably hit me and I'd die. So I started putting a little bit more emphasis onto attack speed, first off by adding into Falcon Technique. You can also have some attack speed on your quiver as well, and that will pretty much be the same as Falcon Technique pretty much, or you can have both, right? Just having more attack speed in general is going to be good for your one-on-one fights with the bosses that you're not going to one-shot. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to get a good quiver with attack speed, so unfortunate for me. So I went in to do this. I was potentially thinking about doing something with these skill speed nodes as well, but it felt a little bit overkill for me. At the end of the day, it started to become diminishing returns. I kind of don't think that you really feel the difference beyond just Falcon Technique or your quiver having attack speed on it. But that's kind of really the main changes that I did to this build. Quite a few changes, I know, but honestly, all of them have added quite well to the arsenal and have made it so that basically I'm able to clear those Pinnacle bosses at least as smoothly as possible. This might be the last update that I do because I might be moving on to a different build soon, which I hope you guys are excited for. But as always, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think and if you have any questions for me. Also, remember, check out the previous video if you haven't already, if you have some questions, because I do have like an FAQ section for that in that video as well. And I'll link that probably at the end screen. Like, it's probably popping up right now. So, all right, guys, hopefully y'all enjoyed it. If you guys did, remember, hitting the sub button is the best way to support the channel, as well as letting me know that you like the video and this content. Also, I stream every single day on twitch.tv/MisaXshiro. So hopefully I get to see you guys there. But if not, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. All right, guys. Peace.